Hello, everybody. This is Debo with Debo's Movie Reviews here, and today I'll be reviewing Crank 1 and Crank 2, starring Jason Statham as Chev Chilios, Dwight Yoakam as Doc Miles, featuring Amy Smart as Eve, and for the second one, cameos by Ron Jeremy, along with Bai Ling, was the second one. And I gotta say, those two movies are pretty much some very much iconic action movies. I mean, just kind of like quotable from that line of the second one where where Doc Miles says the girl, "Does Doc Miles have to choke a bitch?" And and of course David Carradine's cameo in what was his one of his final roles. And he basically had like a storyline that goes from one movie of that has you think if Chef Chelios killed Don Cameron in the first place, he wouldn't have been in the mess. Given how he did a favor in one, Don Kim did a favor for him in one movie, like last minute backup, and then from the first sequence where he had the finger gun, which inspired a couple of tropes like with Chris Evans in The Losers and Stallone in Expendables 2, which those would be for other reviews, but overall, the Crank movies, I gotta say some iconic, and Chev Chilios, I gotta say it's practically in my top three Jason's favorite Jason Statham roles, along with beside Martin and Deckard Shaw, and well Frankenstein, but in Death Race. But since he didn't do the sequels, that's a whole different. They don't really count. I'm just talking in terms of characters that had sequel movies. Whereas Shaw only appeared in sequels of Fast and Furious, but that's a whole. But still, well, back to the Crank movies, it just had the whole thing where he gets the Beijing cocktail, which of course he's poisoned and he has to find the antidote, and of course keep his adrenaline up in the process. He just starts out just gets in that badass Buick Riviera, and then of course hunts down the bikers and see what they knew, and then of course he gets that police chase for the mall, and then throughout the chaos, and then you had that whole ringtone in the first movie, which almost sounds like a you almost think he's dropping, but he's just got to answer the damn phone. And of course, I gotta say the first one had a better soundtrack though. The second one had Lil Anthony, but they kind of got but that big flaw is that stupid techno song from yeah, you know which one I'm talking about for those who've seen it. The one where he's introducing the brother Kalo. I'm brain farting on his name right now, but yeah, that was like from when you got that old fight scene with dude's brother, uh, Ricky Verona. That is gets one brother and then chops the hand off to the tune of "Lover Boys Turn Me Loose," which I gotta say is a lot better than the one they're known for, which is "Working for the Weekend." And then of course he gets that steals that Desert Eagle, then causes chaos for the hospital. Man, talk about some funny scenes where he just walking around in a hospital gown, toting a Desert Eagle, and walking around, after using the whole vial of epinephrine. And I mean, he actually did not know what epinephrine was until this movie came around. And seeing what old dude from Always Sunny in Philadelphia having a cameo from having his appearances in both movies. Like all scared from in the second one where he's talking to the therapist, and then when he's finally cured, he gets killed by a stray bullet in a shot that looked like something out of Sniper Elite. And woof. And then of course he had the whole had those hilarious public sex scenes. Man, those were some hilarious. Like that old lady said, so looking like some train spot and shit. Which God damn, now every time I heard another love song, that scene's gonna be playing out. And of course, on the first one, then you had the one showdown with in the garment factory after Verona's men kills Kalo, and Joe's fails to save him. But of course, they had a whole excellent fight and shootout scene. Man, talking about how funny it was. Then you had, along with that fucking chase when he's in that old Volkswagen, and then looking like the same one Hard drove in Remington Steel, and while Eve's giving him head while driving, and then he's bam bam bam. And I gotta give it to Amy Smart. She knocked it out of the park in that movie, in both of them. And practically one of the top three performances if you count both movies, and as the one along with Road Trip and that's Barb Whitmore in the Stargirl series. Talking about some Courtney's mom has got it going on. And then, of course, you had that whole strip club shootout in the second one. And that one fight scene the second one where he shot the shotgun up the dude's ass. I mean, it'd have been more graphic if Station pulled the trigger and it just blew that corpse off halfway across that building, and along with him getting so tripped out on electricity, because in the second one he's going from having to find the antidote, but whereas to have an electrical heart and had to find his real one. And the first one he's poisoned, and then of course he gets the whole antidote. Then of course he goes out of that cartel dude and Ricky Verona, and the whole epic shootout at that lair before both get on the helicopter and in that fight, and the whole you think he's dead, and then of course he comes back for a second movie, and he'll run around town causing chaos again with an electrical heart, and then of course had that old scenario, like I mentioned, the strip club fight, the various Transformers, then the whole, funny where that kill of the, where the one stripper who died, who got shot and her implants deflated, and of course soundtrack wise, the second one, I always kind of, I mean, when they made out, when they Chev and Eve make out, I mean, talk about the perfect song to play. Well, Speedwagon. I mean, yeah, forget Usher and Vandross and all the R&B crap. Speedwagon's the way to go. And then of course he got at that, well, at one shootout where he's getting confronted by Don Kim again, and of course Don Kim wants to fuck him over, and I'm just like, and I was thinking, yeah, if you killed him in the first place, none of you wouldn't have been poisoned, and then you'd still be working for the other guy. Then in the whole shootout, climactic scene at the end with Clifton Collins, and like I say, one and two of his best movies that came out in 2009. The other being Boondock Saints 2, which I already got a video on that. If y'all want to look that up, man, I gotta give the Crank movies a 5 out of 5, both of them. I mean, just action, comedy. I mean, movie like closest you actually get to a Grand Theft Auto movie in a way. Feels like, I mean, because it feels like a mission out of Grand Theft Auto where you're poisoned, you gotta find an antidote. Which Vice City did have one where you're drunk but you're still buzzed on moonshine and still have to take Phil Cassidy to a doctor after the. That's unrelated, but overall, I give Crank 1 and 2 a definite 5 out of 5. I hope y'all like, subscribe, and enjoy, and I'll keep dishing them out.